A number of years ago, I read an article produced by a scholar at the Yale Divinity School, where I was a student back in the 60s, 1960, which he called The Ambivalence of God. What he was doing is trying to interpret the 11th chapter of Hosea, one of the more beautiful minor prophets, as we call them. The Lord had asked Hosea to actually marry a prostitute to express in a very graphic way God's feelings about his relationship to the Jewish people as the Jews wanted it. They believed in God, and yet they lived like harlots, following other gods. And later on, Hosea presents to us what I would call his gospel. And I mention this because of the impression I get that Hosea is giving us a secret of how to interpret this gospel. Today, as you know, the evangelical world is, if not dominated, at least strongly influenced by Reformed theology, which believes that God is a duality, that he is righteous and loving, but a God who puts his righteousness and holiness first as a priority. As I've said before elsewhere, according to the Reformed theology, God must be righteous. He may be loving. Now, this, as I've tried to say, casts a pall for me over the whole issue of our relationship with God. Does he really love us, or does he just in mercy save us? Is it true that what God does is satisfy his justice, his righteousness, and then carries along with it the promise of salvation if we repent and believe in Jesus? We get a different story from this passage in Hosea 11. I won't go into too great detail about this, but you know how it begins. When Israel was a child, I loved him, and I cared for him, bore him, but Israel was wayward and turned aside from his faith in me.